try the GoPro this evening. Pretty long day. Got up 4 o'clock this morning. I don't know what it is, 8 o'clock at night, I think. Everybody's in bed, I think, by now. Getting ready for another big day tomorrow. It's pretty foggy this morning on the run out. It's always a little nerve-wracking. Running out in thick fog, going around the point at a place called Cape Beale, if you want to take a look at that one. Lots of ships wrecked there, but had the radar on and got around to a spot. And one thing I did was I threw a squid jig down at the bottom. What we're trying to do is catch some live squid and then use live squid as bait. And then I was going to put the camera down there with the live squid over top of it to watch the salmon chasing it around and feeding on it. But it did work out. The water's just too murky. Kind of a bummer. But anyway, there's a gray whale who's been nonstop basically hugging these rocks every time we go out there. It's pretty crazy. And the fog finally cleared up enough that I thought, okay, this is it. I'm gonna fly the drone over there. And we weren't trolling with the boat, which means under power. We're just sitting there drifting, jigging these little lead jigs off the bottom, which we did manage to hook 4 salmon. And nobody's catching anything. There's about 6 or 7 boats around there, and nobody's catching nothing. We got lucky, got 4. And then I sent the drone over there. It's always nerve-wracking to send it off the boat, right? And I sent the drone over there and successfully videotaped the whale. It was really cool and amazing to see how close he's going to shore and basically bouncing off the rocks. And then absolute crazy timing, because we were getting to fish like maybe once every hour. And my friend Jody, that owns Trophy Hunter Sport Fishing, he hooked into a real beauty salmon and he was fighting it when I was bringing the drone back. So I ended up filming him playing and releasing the salmon beside the boat with the drone. That was really cool. I always wanted to see if I could possibly have the drone above the boat while somebody's catching a fish. And I thought, well, that's going to take some frickin' planning and some luck. So what kind of crazy luck is that, to be able to go out and film that whale like that and then come back and finish up with a salmon being fought beside the boat? You kidding me? That's pretty cool. But anyway, I'm going to get some emails heard. My internet works, which is crazy. My Starlink works. Brought the internet here to the boat. It's so weird. Anyway, I got to get comfortable and we're going to listen to this. Give me a second. This is titled, can you see anything out there? Back up by the water there. We're within 30 feet of each other. It's the title of this email. Steve, my name is Sean. First and foremost, thank you for who you are. We need more stand-up men like yourself in this world we live in today. Thank you, sir. Thank you for the kind words, man. Before I tell you my encounter with one of those creatures, I should tell you that I did not believe in them. Nobody did. I'd seen the Patty film when I was a kid, back in the late 70s, early 80s. Scared the hell out of me back then, but I never paid attention to that kind of stuff growing up. I just thought it was a bunch of stories. I hate to admit it, but I was one of those guys that had to see it to believe it. You're not alone, man. There's plenty of people with the same, carry themselves the same. I grew up around hunting with my dad and buddies. I got my hunting license at age 12, state requirement for Pennsylvania. I moved to northwestern Pennsylvania when I was 23. I lived just outside a small town and had the Allegheny National Forest for my backyard. I spent as much time as possible in those woods and loved every minute. I worked road construction at the time. We'd get laid off for the season just before Thanksgiving and deer season, which was perfect for me. I would spend a few weeks playing in the big woods, hunting, and then go haul logs and lumber for a couple local guys for the winter before I went back to road construction in the spring. I'm not sure the exact year when this happened. Sometime around the late 90s, early 2000. It was back when Pennsylvania had only 3 days to doe hunt. I was in my late 20s by now. I decided to drive a section of the woods that I had never gone through. There was a blowdown area where a tornado had gone through back in the late 80s. I'd always walked up to that spot from my house and had luck taking deer near there, so I thought I would try my luck on the other side of that area this year for doe season. Parked my truck in a small parking area off a dirt road. There was a small trout stream there where many people camp and fish in the springtime. There's also an old railroad bed that runs up the valley from back in the day. No rails or ties left, just a gravel bed. It was a perfect morning for stalking. I waited till the sun came up before I headed in. The ground was wet, just started snowing, big fluffy flakes just covering the ground. Nice, quiet, slow walk along the side of the creek. About an hour in, I can see where the blowdown area comes across the railroad bed. It's about 100 yards from there. Over the years of hunting, I had learned from a buddy that if you see deer from your peripheral vision, don't stop and look at them. Wait until you can get behind a tree or some sort of cover before you do anything. The deer won't spook if you're not looking straight at them, and they are curious and just might make a few steps towards you to see where you're going and what you're doing. I've used this before in the past and it actually worked. Yeah, I've mentioned that a bunch in my hunt videos. I call it body language. It works big time with all game. Actually, body language works with humans in game. The creek is to my right, and a mountain beyond that to my left is valley floor. Just beyond that is another mountain. The valley floor is narrow, maybe 200 yards wide. The blowdown area comes from my right on top of the mountain, down the hill, and crosses over the creek and stops in the middle of the valley floor to my left. I hope that makes sense. Now I pick up something in my peripheral vision to my left, and I can't believe what I'm about to see. Steve, if I didn't see this thing at all, I would never have taken a second look at your channel. I would have called you a nutcase and never looked back. Sorry to say. Dude, I get it. Same, probably. Maybe. First thing I did was look at this guy in the face. I noticed his eyes were closed and his chin was in his chest looking down. I never stopped walking. He was within 30 feet of me, plain as day. I was able to scan him quickly from his face to his right hand, to his left foot, back again before I was able to walk past him. What I saw was incredible. We must have startled each other. He was in mid-stride when he stopped and didn't move. His right arm was stretched out, palm down, holding onto a hemlock tree. His left leg was up in the air as if he stopped in mid-stride. I could see the bottom of his left foot. It was a light tan, sandy color, and smooth on the bottom. His right hand had hair covering the top part, but his fingers were exposed. They were black, but had a dry, ashy color. His fingernails actually looked manicured, and I could see his cuticles at the base of the fingernails. That was black in color. Holy shit, this is a detailed one, man. Wow. He actually had fur just like a black bear. I ran into your channel a few years back by accident and thought about writing in until recently you said something about bear DNA. Get out of here, wasp. Come on. Little bastard. Sorry. I'd ran into your channel a few years back by accident and thought about writing in until recently you said something about bear DNA. That's when I decided to tell you this because that's what his fur looked like. Now, I was on the railroad bed, so I was about 1 foot to 1.5 foot taller than the ground around me. We were eye to eye. I'm guessing he was 7 to 7.5 feet tall. Big, broad shoulders. He would not fit in any doorway. Squared up, almost straight across. Built like a brick shithouse. You can see the muscle underneath the fur. He would have put any WWF wrestler to shame. His waist was thin, chest was wide. What was most impressive was his thighs, huge. I could see why so many people say they run like the wind. He did have spots of gray around his thighs, salt and pepper look. I did not see his junk, lol, but his pubic hair was curly like ours, different from the rest of him. Same with his beard. That wasn't a big beard either. You posted a picture of a face not long ago from an outfitter friend of yours. That is a similar face. That is a similar face that I saw. I'll try to attach it here. I was hunting with a pistol, and it was under my jacket. As soon as I got past him, I put my hand on it, but never pulled it. I reached the blowdown area where the creek rerouted itself, cutting across the railroad bed. I stepped into the creek and stopped. Now, this thing is only 60 feet or so behind me. To say that I was afraid would be an understatement. For some reason, I knew not to enter the blowdown area because I thought I would be trapped and in danger. With a death grip on my pistol, I stood in that creek for what seemed like hours, not moving, afraid for my life, trying to listen for any movement behind me, but all I could hear was the rushing sound of the creek. I finally got the nerve to turn around with the pistol drawn. Thank goodness it wasn't there anymore. As I walked back, I did look to where he was standing and saw nothing. No footprints, no nothing. Now, as if the sighting wasn't strange enough, on my way back to the truck, I felt disoriented, lost, dehydrated, and all I had to do was stay on the railroad bed. This had only lasted maybe 10 minutes, and I found my way back to the truck. I've never told anybody this story until last year. I told my wife and a couple friends. I felt relieved when I did. They know I'm not a bullshitter. I can still picture him today, just like it happened yesterday. Thank you for letting me share this, Steve. If you ever fly into Pittsburgh and need a place to stay, a truck to drive, and even my camper, you're more than welcome to it, buddy. What's mine is yours. Sean Kirk. Sean, I appreciate you, man. You're a kind soul. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the club, right? Now, this picture has been shared before, and now that I got the GoPro, I can do this, right? I think. Let's try that. You guys remember that one? That should be working, right? Save me a little time on the edit. There you go. That's a hell of an experience. I'm glad you wrote in and shared it, man. Because it's painless, wasn't it? And I understand that it actually feels very relieving to share here. To share, period. This is a safe place. The cat's out of the bag, right, man? You agree? The cat's out of the bag now. Now we're just going to get to the bottom of what the hell, but unfortunately it has a lot to do with who the hell are we as well, right? Now, what do we got? Another one. And make sure, Sean, you find somebody that laughs at you, somebody you're nervous about telling or sharing this shit with. Share this video with them. This next one is titled More Pertinent Information. Steve, it's your friend Huintar, the States, Mike Gogolin. Hope I didn't butcher it, man. You recently asked what can be done to help the children. I recently saw the movie The Sound of Freedom. Great movie, by the way. Now let's get down to it. The fact that they saved some kids is like putting 100,000 lawyers at the bottom of the ocean. A good start is all. Might have been a typo in there. Now, to really help all the children, we simply need to rid the earth of the pedophiles. Agreed. We as humans need to hunt these bad humans down and mercifully kill them. I don't know if that's going to go over on YouTube. Some misguided people might think this as murder, but this is the same as killing during war. Is that considered murder? No, it's duty. You got a point there. And we all have a duty to God to keep the kids safe. Now, as a topic everyone is here for, and mine speak, when I was young, I had many more abilities than I do at present. Sorry, guys. When I was 11, 12 years old, I shared an encounter with you where I was saved by one of the people from getting eaten by a grizzly in a river in Jasper Park in 1967. I told you I had more to share, but not much more dare I share. However, there on that trip, we were in the Yukon Territory on the White River between Dawson City and Beaver Creek. We were fishing and camping the second night. The second night, we were attacked by a group of the people from the Alaska side of the river with bowling ball-sized rocks being thrown at us. So I was attempting to mind speak with them when the one from Jasper Park answered my mind speak with, "Worthy, what do you need?" I answered, "We were being attacked." At that time, I'm withholding name, that's for me only, he mind spoke with the leader of the group that was attacking us, and the horses were freaking out. He told the leader of this group that I was worthy, and that I was part of the group from Jasper Park, and to leave us alone, and we would leave. This gives the members of the round table some new information. Time and distance mean nothing, at least not what we've all been taught. I no longer have this ability to do the things I once could. Yeah, I know the time and distance has nothing to do with it for sure. And I've found that out too when it comes to these beings. As you can be tagged, you may also be untagged. When I was untagged in 1985, it was done for my own safety by the people, as I was being hunted by bad things and to help hide me from the star people. That's the last time I was able to dream, as the people took my dreams as they enjoy watching them. Well, this is sounding right out there, isn't it? They do send crows to come and check on me from time to time, and they like to know that I'm safe. Don't ask for more, I've probably already said too much. This is good versus evil, and the war will be starting soon. Everyone that does not know Jesus Christ as Lord better get in there. Better get that in their life, as the sands of time are running out. I pray that you and your followers, I pray that you and your are followers of Christ. If not, please do so. Just drop down on your knees and pray to the Lord to come into your life. That Jesus is the true Son of God, and that he paid the fine of our sins, to let the blood of Jesus wash us white as snow. Be blessed. All right, well, that's a mouthful, man. It's a mouthful, but for all you listening, a lot of things he said there are actually being fairly backed up by various individuals who aren't connected, but I'm connected to and learning from. So there is some things in there that I agree with for sure. Oh boy, okay. Now, this is titled, They Do Exist. Steve, this is my second email to you, and I hope it finds you well. You read my first account twice, so I'm making sure I only send this one time. It worked. Anyway, in my first email that you read on July 4th, 22, I told you the story of the first time I had a bona fide experience while on duty. However, I didn't see anything that time, even though all my other senses were absolutely obliterated by the encounter. This is the story of the time I saw one. I was in the process of moving to Oregon from Arizona. I made a few trips back and forth, but the best I can recall is that it was December 2014. I was traveling up Highway 95 through the Nevada desert. It was a beautiful winter day, and I'd already spotted several desert bighorn sheep in the hills and rock outcroppings on either side of the highway. Because of this, I was paying more attention to the red rock cliffs than I was to the road. It was deserted anyway. I had seen very few other vehicles, and I was speeding. I come around a slight bend somewhere just south of Walker Lake, looking up and slightly to my right into the Monte Cristo Range. I noticed movement up on an extremely steep cliff with at least several hundred vertical feet below and more rock above. My eyes immediately focused. What I saw was incredible. A jet black, hair-covered, muscular being had hurled itself out onto what could have been, one more time, a jet black, hair-covered, muscular being had hurled itself out onto what couldn't have been more than a 6-inch ledge. As it stood up, its feet stuck out over the edge, and so did its muscular body. Very big. It was paying zero attention / had no regard for the height and the precarious situation it appeared to be in. When my eyes focused in, he was in a forward rolling motion, as if he had been ejected with great force from somewhere. He paused, stood upright momentarily, facing me, the classic silhouette of the big man with huge shoulders, and looked back to where he had appeared, then turned his head, locked eyes with me through my windshield. He immediately hit himself on the head. The gesture was like what a person would do when they've been caught in the act of something. Dang it, you got me. Quote, dang it, you got me, end quote. He then bent his neck backwards, tucking it behind his body, and did a series of headless cartwheels out further onto the ledge and disappeared into a pile of rocks. That's what I saw. I could sense the power in its movements. The whole thing lasted less than 5 seconds, but it's something I won't soon forget. Thanks again. Wow. There's one that would be tough for anybody to share publicly, right? Or with anyone. What a thing to see. What a thing to see. Thanks for sharing that, man. You brave, free person. Appreciate you. We need people like you here. We need all the people here, really. That's incredible. I'm glad you shared it. There's another one we titled. Did I just read this? Yep, just read that. Almost read the same one in the same video. Imagine if I did that, then you'd know there's something severely wrong with me, right? Alright, what do we got this one? Mark this as red. Man, everybody's supposed to be asleep. Oh, bunch of boat noise behind me going on. People going out for the evening fish. This titled Patterns, Puzzles, and Persistence. Hello, Steve. I introduced myself as Patricia Snyder. Sorry, hello, Steve. I introduced myself as Patricia Snyder. And yes, please use my name. I've been wearing it for a long time now, and I feel no reason to hide it. What a platform you have built, and may never expect it. No kidding. God sends good people such as yourself to spread truths. I thank you, kind sir, for your due diligence. Wow, has my mind been sprung open like a trap door, and I love it. I've been going down the proverbial rabbit hole for about a year now, digging into many things I never thought I'd be searching for, but that is what happens when you've been caught by surprise and things just aren't adding up. If you're paying attention, you start searching. But if you don't know what has surprised you, where do you begin? So I took a dive out of my comfort zone on YouTube, which I had never even been on before, to explore what those weird headlines were about. How to Hunt was my third rabbit hole, but it was the beginning of what I believe is valuable information spoken straight from the encounters of the people. I especially tune up when the First Nations speak, for therein lies the reality of many things in life. Oh, to know what they know. Priceless. Agreed. We should have been listening to them from the beginning, but we are listening now, aren't we? And we're listening to each other. We all count. We're all equal. Growing up, forest, my backyard was literally a wilderness area. Nothing beyond the beyond. I played in it ferociously without fear. Well, as soon as I was old enough not to be afraid of it, which was around 8, the black bear, my biggest concern, I learned all the forest sounds and how to use them to avoid conflict. That would happen frequently in the yard without warning. Silent creatures. I hate being snuck up on. I was raised a loner, but loners still play alone, and I've never thought twice as to alert anyone where I was going. Most of the time, I didn't know myself where I was going to be. I had an awesome upbringing and have stayed true to the love of the mountains and the wild that lives there. As a young girl, the horse was added to my world, with the opportunity to explore mountains far and wide, and so I did. Mounted search and rescue returned me to the mountains after a span of small child rearing and returned to the habits of wandering solo. The addition of a pack of animals to wander with gave comfort and another level of security. More ears to hear with you. 2008, I was returning to my trailer from a wander in our local woods, a daily habit of mine either on horseback or afoot. A roar / scream / bellow was thrown at us, horse and dog also, that vibrated my internal organs, as if I was planted next to the speaker of a Ted Nugent concert I'd attended when I was a teen. Hell, I'd never felt anything like that before. The loudness of my poor seating arrangement actually put me to sleep. Think about that for a minute. What that kind of concussion can do to the body, especially a kid who was raised in the quiet of the forest. All three of us immediately reacted by not reacting at all, just stunned, frozen in place, staring in the direction it came from. It wasn't a matter of what was that. I knew what it was. My surprise came from what is it doing here so close to population when big old Mount Rainier is just across the street as the crow flies. Then the mind really starts spinning in a matter of moments. I didn't feel danger, but wondered if it was screaming at me. No. How could it know we were out here? It must be screaming at something else, and I just happened to hear it. Then why do I feel it was projected right straight at me? A fraction of a second later, and we were gone down the trail with our tails on fire when the next thought was, holy shit, it's between us and the truck, and we have to run right at it. Are you effing kidding me? I thought of all the ways I could get away from my pickup and into town, but they all required a long journey through the forest. My nerves were not up for that. Needless to say, we made it, albeit a bit scraped up by attacking branches at a high rate of speed. I don't recall telling anyone of the event, nor did I remove myself from my favorite rides and hikes. I didn't really think anything more about it. I was taught that we do not know all that lives in the mountains and accepted that. It took a few more years before I delved into any information, and it was a different encounter that sparked it. Summer 2021, having moved to a new location, northeast Washington. I'd been looking for a smooth, gentle trail to walk, for I'd sustained an ugly ankle injury and my young dog had blown his hock also, and we needed stability. I happened upon a trail at the outskirts of a field of a large camp that was empty. Excited to say the least, to have found something finally. As we were beginning to enter the tree line, I received what I now believe to mean mind speak, because nothing like that has ever happened before. Clearly stating, not to enter 3 times, because that's how many times I tried to override it. The 3rd time I conceded and went the other way, under protest, stating so out loud to whomever was effing with my head, waiting for a warning that didn't come, and limped the downhill direction, determined not to be run off. Led us into a steep drop that looked ambush to me and ended up leaving altogether. It was that event that threw me off chart, out of the woods, and left me skewed as to why. I was now 59 years into my life in the mountain forest, suddenly afraid of the woods. Oh, hell to the no. That's intolerable. I had to find out or my soul would shrivel and die. I can relate. Dang, but I do it like a mystery. Welcome to the rabbit hole. From these discoveries, the sharing of such valuable information of like others, the patterns emerge. The puzzle has now become larger than what the original intent began. And, wonder of wonders, the pieces fill in the unknowns I have experienced my entire life. The unknowns that were easily accepted as a child are still accepted as an adult. Forgotten for a while by the fear of what I was hearing of the encounters. Fear is our biggest enemy. I dove deeper. To get to the bottom of things, one must go to the roots. My goal, eliminate the fear. This is how it has left me. I've come full circle, back to my roots of childhood teachings, belief standards, moral compass, God, Jesus, bracket, Satan. We're not giving him a capital letter, end bracket. Now Satan with a small s. The battle of good versus evil, the unknowns and acceptance, and the understanding that all is not what it seems. Armed with knowledge granted me from all you that share. I'm feeling pretty darn good about the fact that I've been pretty darn naive, and I'm still here today seeking answers. I've known of these beings my whole life. I didn't acknowledge them. I accepted them. Fear has been replaced with caution. Signs are now known to listen for, but I don't think I'll be actively listening. I'll be listening for the birds, the wind, the peace. My persistence to remain among the mountains' best-kept secrets far outweighs the patterns or the puzzle. I return to the mountains to do what I have always done. A silent commune with God and his creatures. The forest people, I think they know that. I also think they know who I am, wherever I am. Those puzzle drops, they line up with my unknowns. Not sure which way I'd like it, but I'm always relieved to know truths. Bless you, Steve and Sarah. I know the commitment it takes a special woman to share her life for the mountain man. Bless each one of the people who have shared and unknowingly helped me right my world in many ways, other than the Sabe. You cannot know. Mystery, intrigue, indeed. I'm going in for more. Okay, there you go. Appreciate your email. That's an encourager for a lot of people, I'm certain, Patricia. Be safe out there. Go with your gut. And one thing I will pass on, what I've learned from very solid contacts, and I accept as true, is that there are good ones and there are, unfortunately, bad ones, and that sucks. Why does it have to be good and bad? Why do you have to throw bad in there, right? It pisses me off. All the bad's getting a little old. It's getting a little old. It just sucks to have the bad. That was weird. The GoPro just shut off and it said, with a warning on it saying it got too hot. Weird. So I replaced the battery and kept it off a couple minutes. So I'm going to do one more and call it a night. Listen to this. This title, Former Active Marine Shares. Hey Steve, please do not share my name or email address. Gotcha. I'm a former active duty Marine and avid outdoorsman now living in Washington State. I've had a few known encounters with these beings, as you say, and maybe this will help someone somewhere. I was elk hunting in a certain area in the NCW. I'm silently moving through an area that I've been to often. I was going to lay on my stomach on a rock to overlook an area that I've that I've been successful many times in the past. When I finally got to the top of this particular rock and situated myself to glass the field and valley, I noticed a car on a road that I'd never ever seen someone on before. I could see two individuals leaning against the car, and it appears they were either done with a hike or a run, as they were drinking water and seemed like they were resting. Watching them for a bit to determine whether or not they were going to leave soon or stay there, something caught my eye not far from them. No more than 50 yards away behind some trees was something tall watching them. If it wasn't for the sun being directly in line with me and it, I would never have noticed that it was there. It moved its arm just right, which caught my attention. I was watching these two do whatever they were doing. After a couple of minutes of watching the scene, I decided that if Predator was here, the elk will be somewhere else. So I slowly climbed down the rock and headed back to my truck. I was curious a little and I decided to drive back to that area. I got halfway there, thought it was stupid, and drove back to where our base camp was located. I never told anyone this, and only recently, after 5 years, did I decide to go back to my, quote, rock, end croak. End quote, sorry, end croak. I must be getting tired, right? Here I go with not even speaking audible English. It made me realize the Sasquatch is there more than we know and does not seem to be a bother to us in general. Even with that knowledge, I pack every time I go into the woods. Me too, I try to, right? Because there is good and evil in the forest too. Thanks for sharing that, man. But if you're still with us, this is an older email. If you could, maybe email us back more of a detail what you saw, what this thing looked like. All right? What did it look like? All right, what's this one? I may have read some of these. I hope I didn't, but they're not marked as read. One more. Hey Steve, share away. More food for thought and the realization of my own experience. It was my first hunting trip ever with my buddy Steve up at Nit Nat Lake area. As you know, it's desolate as hell. Right over there. Steve and his friends used an old hunting shack on Crown land just off the lake. The first day we drove around the logging roads and trekked around all day. Nothing. On our way back to the cabin, Steve yells, "Buck!" He points in the distance and says, "Can you see horns?" I respond that I can. Steve slides the rifle over to me and you're up. I go to open my door, but it catches. But it is blocked by the thick bush. No go. Steve gets out, takes the shot, and drops it. We take the buck back to the shack, and Steve runs up the trail to get the tools. He meets a black bear face to face in front of the cabin, and it runs off. I can feel an eerie feeling come over me as it's now getting dark. As the butchering process is underway, we are forced to do it by campfire. My senses and fear keep getting stronger, and I want to get the hell out of there. Then the sounds start. The best way I can describe the sound is drumming, and it's getting closer. Steve says, "What the F is that?" To say I was the most scared I've ever been would be an understatement. I feel something watching us. We retreat to the shack, armed, and try to catch some Z's. At some point in the night, I could feel something enter my mind when I was sleeping. I woke up screaming. More drumming sounds now and very close. I guess I managed to sleep, and when I woke up again, it was morning. The buck's head and other parts, not wrapped in cheesecloth and hanging, were gone from the back of the pickup. I suggested we leave a day early. Steve obliged. I didn't ever realize what really went on until I started watching your channel. Here's some of my puzzle completed. Much from watching your channel. A. The beings have a completely separate culture and are completely different from us. Nothing logical or similar to our values or behavior can be considered. They are their own book, a highly secretive book. B. A native elder told me that before European contact, the natives traded with them and lived near them, but not amongst them. They were known as mischievous and sometimes scary. They could sometimes kidnap children and women. I questioned why the Sasquatch didn't just conquer the natives, as their abilities are much greater. He replied that some natives had the same abilities. Example, invisibility, mind speak, dimensional travel, communication with animals, and shape-shifting. I think this is a profound point because every aspect of native culture has been destroyed since contact. Why? To rid them of their powers for control. Agreed. All humans have the potential of these abilities. It's just being taken from us in order to control us. The Europeans just lost their abilities thousands of years ago. I'm sure it didn't come easy. And some with these abilities are more powerful than others. Genetics would come into play. Modern education, medication, religion, lies, etc. are all methods of control. The American natives just lost it recently, and some of all cultures still have it. Proper meditation is a scary ride. Try it sometime. C. There are only two options with regards to these things being killers. One, they don't kill or take humans, and something else is evil in the wild. Two, they have bad apples and some bad seeds that kill. From all the evidence, these are the options. We know that many are very curious about us and can be mischievous. I've seen all of your videos. The gentleman today who mentioned treating them as autistic humans is brilliant, but how can we decide which ones are Rain Man and which ones are killers, if any killers at all? Best to steer clear. The truth has been hidden from us either because the powers that be, evil Fs, don't want us to learn abilities from them and learn the truth, or the more logical reason, the Sasquatches are dangerous, but we can't apply logic to this, remember? Classic logic can be a tool of control. I think that the truth about UFOs and aliens are hidden from us because it could lead to free energy for humanity. That seems to be coming about, doesn't it? The radioactive traces of the Sasquatches leave are most likely from dimensional travel and not from their biology. Coming in and out of our threshold has to use some energy. It would be really easy for the powers that be to say, we hid them from you because they are radioactive. I don't buy it. Regards, Chris S. North Shore, Vancouver. Chris, you're digging, man. You're digging, you're learning for certain. Don't stop. You got more, email me again, all right? Nitnat, I stopped at Nitnat River to share some voices with you guys when Sarah and I were coming back via the logging roads, and I explained how remote it was there and what was going on in Nitnat a lot. And the Klanawa River over here, an eagle just buzzed a heron. And the Klanawa River, which is right over here, is right next, over the headland, is the Nitnat Valley. I haven't felt much pressure in the Klanawa, and that's where Sarah and I and Ruby went in that timber, looking for elk sheds and getting those trail cameras back from the spring. I didn't feel any pressure there yet, but way farther down the valley is where I showed you guys that alder tree that was like this and snapped off, brand new. No wind, the whole road had the same age trees and not one other break. Whatever is what it is. Yeah, I'm rambling. I have another friend who saw one in the Nitnat area, standing there in a logged off area with his hand on a stump staring at him. What else? Tons around Nitnat. A lot. But anyways, you are coming to some pretty good conclusions. You're on the right path, without a doubt. Without a doubt. Anyway, I'm tired, you guys. I gotta go to bed. I'm gonna get up at 4:30-ish, I think. And the fog's rolling in, so it'll be another white knuckler trying to get out of the inlet. around the corner. Then we'll see what comes tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed that whale footage in the beginning. I think it's pretty cool myself. But anyway, the sound of freedom. The sound of freedom. Make sure you see that show. And the fact that the government is intentionally not looking into the murders of the Native children buried in the ground and they know where they are. That should be absolutely freaking alarming. And I hope that each one of you tells at least one person you know that story, that truth, all right? That's a story that needs to be heard a lot more than it is. Share my story at howtohunt.com. See you guys tomorrow.